This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Oh, hello there. Very nice to meet you.
Do you mind if I say a few words? Thank you.
What on earth is wrong with Rishi Sunak? I mean, is he really prepared to see the planet burst into flames just in the hope of getting a few votes from some mouth breathers who think that climate change is just a woke plot to make Donald Trump use less hairspray?
You don't need to put all of that product in your hair. You just don't.
This text says, now these are texts and tweets and such from last night. There's only about 13 pages of them to get through. It says, sad to see Murdoch throw in the towel. Who's going to help the poorly educated reach a political decision? That's an excellent question.
I love the poorly educated.
He does love the poorly educated. P texts, hi Nick A. I think there has been, is an unusual throat problem in the UK. I had it and lost my voice. Now my daughters in Scotland and Cornwall currently are poorly with their throats. Your homework is to ask your listeners if you agree that there's a lurgy lurking. Well, it seems to be something serious, yeah. Don't eat the jam. Tweet from Ian in Hanwell says, whatever happened to the Nightingale hospitals created as a PR stunt by the Tories during COVID? £500 million wasted. The beds alone cost £2,000 each and were being sold off for as little as £6 a piece after the hospital closures. I don't know, follow the money would be a good idea. And Catherine in Watford says, hi Nick, I also saw the double rainbow. A double rainbow. A double rainbow, saw it in Watford, and I took a photo of it, says Catherine. It was beautiful. By the way, it was our That Is a Disgrace Liz Truss clip that Ben Kentish used, and I was shocked to hear it. Ben Kentish used it.
What?
Well, that is a disgrace.
That is a disgrace.
I said that. Email from Martin says, Mayor Andy Burnham said deregulation exposes the myth that the market solves everything. It doesn't. It's the opposite. Yeah, deregulation. The regulations are in place to protect us, the little people, not leprechauns, from the corporations and the super rich that would plough through the lot of us just to get to an extra penny. So there was absolutely no coverage at all of the Rejoin March in London today in the Mail. I looked and looked and looked, and I looked in the Mail because it is the biggest website, news website that I know of. Not a word. Not that I could see, but they did have a huge splash on a different, somewhat smaller march in favour of XL bully dogs. Those things. Hundreds of XL bully owners massed in London today to protest at Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's plans to ban the breed. Thanks a lot, Rishi Sunak. No! That was the way the Mail wrote about it. Massed. Hundreds of XL bully owners massed in London. Massed. A couple of hundred at most, and they call it massed. Somehow missing the absolutely massive numbers demonstrating against Brexit in the same bloomin' city. The Mail says, the breed is set to be banned by the end of the year following a series of attacks, including that of a father of two, Ian Price from Staffordshire, who was killed by two XL bullies after they jumped out of a neighbour's window earlier this month. Owners are in panic and abandoning their pets or begging vets to change official records to say staffies, not XL bullies, because they're worried their dogs may be put down. Most say their dogs are completely safe. Yeah, I mean, it would be Darwin's revenge if the dogs attacked the owners. Sadly, they seem to be more intent on killing innocent members of the public who happen to be in their eyesight. Like the man just today who was rushed to hospital after one of those lovely, soft and safe dogs ripped into him in a park, after which his owner ran away. And while the owners were out in force in London, they did not have any of their pets with them. Before the event, the message went out, please do not take your dogs to protest. They are understood to have taken the decision due to the mix of fears that the dogs could be taken and the obvious PR disaster that would ensue if one of the dogs became aggressive. That's right. Bingo. Please don't take your dogs. They're lovely and wouldn't hurt a fly. And, oh, by the way, they might go nuts and kill someone. Fishy has said that he has ordered ministers to convene a panel of experts, including the police, to define the breed so that they can be outlawed. You don't need to do that. Just look at the blooming things. You can tell which one is and which one isn't. Fishy Sunak said, the American XL bully dog is a danger to our communities, particularly our children. And I cannot believe that I am about to say this, but I agree with Rishi Sunak.
What?
In just the last week, West Midlands County has seen 2 horrific attacks thought to be by XL bullies. Mohammed Sami Raza was left covered in blood with terrible injuries to his arms and legs after a dog pounced on him in Walsall. In another attack on Monday, 2 Rottweilers charged into a family home and killed 2 beloved cats, leaving the occupant and her children screaming for help. No one needs a Rottweiler. No one needs a bully dog of any size. They are weapons used by inadequates to make them feel tough. You can't wave a gun around in public in this country. You shouldn't be able to own a dog like that. And I've got to say that the pictures of this small demonstration of people who love their dangerous dogs showed people sitting in the road. And I would have to assume that those same people would be the first to call for protesters sitting in the road to bring home the danger of climate change to be locked up. I mean, the pictures that the Mail printed made it look like the dangerous dog lover crowd was fresh out of lock-up themselves. I mean, the pictures looked like a prison yard social. It looked like someone had put tattoo ink in a blunderbuss and the crowd had stood in the way of the blast. They got tattoos up their arms and on their legs and on their heads and faces. And you could see it was on their heads because pretty much every bloke there had a shaved head. It was like a skinheads convention. Not really very comforting, knowing that the same people that thought getting face tattoos was a good idea are walking around on a piece of string, an animal that could kill a grown man. You know, but the huge Rejoin march today was presumably so unimportant as to not get a single mention in the entirety of the Mail's online site. But they had the room to cover a demonstration inside Buckingham Palace. 9 people who wore T-shirts spelling out "Not My King" for a photo. The Mail Online also had the room to print the very important story about Queen Camilla wearing a dress. And huge coverage of 4 men who were nominated by their partners for a makeover. And endless non-stories about Harry and Meghan having the nerve to smile in public. But nothing about the Rejoin march, which I assume was because they were terrified of becoming of it becoming known that Rejoin is the will of the people. I mean, it doesn't fit the Keir Starmer has threatened to take your Brexit away line if they admit that the majority of the people in this country view Brexit as favourably as a mouth ulcer. I had to go to The Independent for a single mention when I looked this afternoon at about 5:30. It was the only paper that had anything in it. Even The Guardian hadn't printed anything about it then. And from the pictures of the march, I'd say it was a much larger one than the Dangerous Dog Lovers episode. Multiple thousands there were, all the way along Piccadilly it stretched, filled Parliament Square they did. And they looked like intelligent, patriotic citizens who want the best for this country. And not like they were on day release from Pentonville. But that's just my thoughts. What are yours? 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. I'm not sure about either of these calls. They've got exclamation marks beside them. So maybe not. It's just a little sign we have.
Warning, warning.
Nick emails, "Evening, Nick. On a cruise ship in Greece, and even the comedian is taking a mick out of the UK and our politics. And he has more material than he does for US politics, which really says something. It's embarrassing being a Brit abroad thanks to this Tory party." Yeah. Even with the Tangerine Scream, we're still the laughing stock of the world.
Oh, shut up!
Kirsty emails, "I was thinking today that it's about time we had a new Prime Minister. This current one has lasted what seems like ages." Yes, absolutely. I mean, just how long does this go on for? Time's up, Fishy. Kirsty says, "I was thinking today about what..." no, I just read that one. Joanne says, "Are you aware your colleague's James O'Brien was using your terminology the other day? I swear it was a case of glorifying in you with James in the past using your voice buttons." What are you talking about, Joanne? John in Sligo says, "Nick, a man who backed Brexit was on TV during the week and he said that people will not feel the true value of Brexit for at least 15 years. He explained that in the future, Britain will be glad of what happened in 2016. He did not say How many of those who voted for leave will be around in 15 years to benefit? Exactly. Almost every single one of them will have fallen off the conveyor belt of life to be replaced by young people who weren't allowed a say. It's called democracy, apparently. Seems a bit weird, but there we are. And Di emails, why don't you use a tablespoon of vinegar in warm water and gargle? Acetic acid kills 99% of all known germs. None of the unknown ones, of course, but mostly the known ones. Yeah, 99% is no good, because what if the 1% one it makes it stronger? You know, you attack all of them and it kills 99% of them. That means that the 1% that survive are going to become stronger by having gone through that process. And that's the one that will kill you. Plus, if you mix vinegar and a bit of, what do they call it? Washing up liquid. You know, washing up liquid, just a little squirt. And you mix it up in a squirty thing, like a spray bottle thing. You can kill weeds with it, without having to go to the trouble of buying some poisonous chemical from, some evil corporation. And it works. A little bit of vinegar, a tiny squirt of washing up soap, and I think maybe a little bit of lemon juice or something like that. Like one of those things. Or maybe it's bicarb of soda. That's probably it, yeah. And it actually works in real life. Can you believe that? There you are. I've just, I probably saved a life there. Because if you've got a big weed problem, then you'll be out there squirting it night and day. And if you're using those noxious chemicals from an evil chemical company, then that's probably not going to do you any good. But what's the big problem with vinegar and bicarb of soda and a little squirt of fairy liquid? Other liquids are available. But it does mean that if it kills weeds and I gargle with it, what's it going to do to me? Being as I am a weed.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
I am not one of your fans!
Martin in Canterbury says, hi Nick, you're always banging on about Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon.
Rock and roll!
I most certainly am not. He says, but what's your take on John Martin's Solid Air album? Are you kidding? I love it. You've been stoling it cold. You've been living on solid air. Wow, it's like John Martin just walked into the room there, wasn't it?
No.
Not really. Holland Park, hello, Sky.
Hello, Nick. How are you?
I'm great, mate.
Hi.
Hi.
I just wanted to ask you if you knew...
Let me just say...
Hello?
Yes.
Hello!
Yeah, hi.
Hello.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, before I start, your show needs to come with a health warning. Because every Friday and Saturday, well, most Friday and Saturday night,
mostly.
I get abdominal cramps. I just cannot stop laughing. Can you tone it down a bit, please?
Sky, stop laughing.
Anyway, okay. Do you know that Rishi Sunak's favourite song is Ice Ice Baby?
What?
Ice Baby? What, by Vanilla Ice?
Okay, reliable source. I was watching Sophie Ridge, Politics Hub, the other day. Your colleague was on, Nick Ferrari.
Yeah.
And they were...
My colleague was on Nick Ferrari. Is that what you just said?
No. Your colleague,
was
Nick
on.
Ferrari, was on Sophie Ridge.
Nick Ferrari.
And, sorry. And she did a quiz asking which songs he and the guest thought each Prime Minister was a favourite.
Yeah.
And it's true. So if you need to check that as homework, be my guest.
Gordon Brown's is probably the Darth Vader theme.
No. It was
Tony Blair's
Thank You for the Day.
is Happiness. I can't imagine what Diddy David Cameron's is. He probably doesn't like music.
Oh, I can't remember what that one was, but...
Rishi Sunak's favourite song is Ice Ice Baby
Ice
by
Ice
that...
Baby.
Erzatz white wrapper. Oh my God! Well, that just about sums him up. Vanilla.
As a black woman, I'd like to see him rap to that, because apparently he can rap to that as well. No bit of a lie.
Yeah, well, I'd like to see that too. Yeah, that'd be the last day that he ever leads this country. That's for sure. All right, thanks a lot, Sky.
Thanks for taking my call.
Okay, cheers, minute. Ta-da. 0345 6060 973. Chris Subbington texts. Chris Subbington. Now, is that his full name, or is it Chris in Stubbington? Oh, I don't really care. It says, let's be frank, I'm not bothered one way or the other. He says the Tories have tried to ban protests with a public order bill, tried to stop people voting with voter ID, bankrupted the country, energy companies ripping us off, then had the worst PM in history who lied a lot and filled our rivers with poo. We need an election, says Chris. I tell you what, Chris, you need some punctuation. Can I offer you a comma?
No.
Youssef in Hampton says, I hope the EU march this weekend. This is from yesterday. I'm still doing yesterday's texts and tweets. It says, I hope the EU march this weekend garners the same amount of coverage as the anti-ULEZ whining has, or is this just wishful thinking?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. Barely a word in any newspaper about it. The Express had a go, or they tried to have a go. That was funny. I'll come to that in a moment. They tried to do a gotcha, and it failed miserably. Quite comical, actually. Now, let me see. What have we got here? Sutton Coldfield. Hello, Dave.
Hi, Nick. Are you well?
Yeah, good, thanks.
How's your throat?
Well, you know me. I don't like to complain.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
Right, so I've got a couple of things. Firstly, I've got a request. You know how you do your A to Z every Christmas?
Yeah.
Could you do an A to Z leading up to the election of every Tory scandal that's happened since 2010? So we can remind the voters.
Yeah, we'd have to start early.
Yeah. So that was just the request. And the second thing is about these XL bully dogs.
Yeah.
I was out on a walk the other morning, and I saw a nice old lady walking a dog, and I said, is that an XL bully? And she said, yeah, it's lovely. She's lovely, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I was talking to her about the ban and et cetera, just sort of feigning sympathy.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, do you mind if I stroke her? And she goes, yeah, she's lovely. So I got down, went to go and stroke her.
Yeah.
And she nearly bit my hand off.
Well, who could have predicted that?
Yeah. So I just want to say I completely concur with your hatred and disdain for those dogs, because I nearly got killed by one.
Okay. All right. Well, don't put yourself into any further danger then, David. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Jen in Acton says, no. Albert says, a regular defence of Johnson was that he was doing his best. Have you noticed that nobody seems to offer that defence for Rishi Sunak? That's true, ain't it, Bodge?
I can't comment on that.
Blah, blah, blah. Is anybody remotely interested in that column that he writes for the Daily Mail?
No.
I mean, I don't even need to read it. The topics he's choosing just seem so... does he actually write it himself, do you think? Because usually if it's a famous name and they've got a column in a newspaper, they don't actually write that column themselves. You know that, right? They just get... even if it's like a long-running column, they have somebody write it for them. They'll call in and they'll say, here's what I think about this week. It's... I don't know, dangerous dogs, and, write something about Brexit. And then they'll put the phone down, and then some teenage scribe will go away and they'll knock it up for him, 1,000 words, and the famous name will get a grand a column, and the teenage scribe will get, £10 an hour. Famous names don't write their own columns, like particularly celebs. I wonder if Boris Johnson writes his own column. I wouldn't be remotely surprised if he didn't. But no, I have not heard a single person say that we should leave Rishi Sunak alone. He's doing his best.
I am totally 100% on it.
He's 100% on it. This is him doing his best. He's giving it 100%. You believe that? We are doomed. Maybe you should dial down a bit. I mean, if this is you at 100%, then I'd like to see what 50% looks like. Just take a day off every now and again. Why don't you? Paul in Glasgow says, Nick, have you ever been to Fareham? Not a nice place. That's why they vote for Suella Braverman. I used to live on the Isle of Wight, but they vote for Bob Seeley, so you can't stay there. You look around and you think you're all morons. I'm safe now in Scotland, says Paul. And Simon in Windsor says, the other week you asked for any benefits of Brexit. What about that magnificent clip of someone calling Nigel Farage? It won't make up for the money we've lost, but at least it's funny. What clip?
I'm immensely grateful to you for everything you've done in British politics over the last few years. I used to be an ardent Remainer. I voted Remain. I believed in the European project. Mm-hmm. I believed that staying in the European Union was the best thing for us. And then something happened, and something monumental happened. It completely changed my opinion on the whole situation.
What was that monumental thing, Mark?
I was kicked in the head by a horse.
Right, very good. Okay, fine. Thank you.
No, thank you. Appreciate it, Nige.
Thank you.
I just love the way, I mean, everything about that is perfect. The timing is just wonderful. And and you can hear Nigel Farage sort of easing back in his chair, all sort of gooey and oily and feeling lovely about, about the way this call is going. And he says, and what was that important thing that happened to you? And then kaboom! I love it. This text says, hi Nick, has anybody compared the XL Bully to the devil dogs in Ghostbusters yet? Have a look side by side, it's quite remarkable. Yeah, and neither of them are funny. I tried to watch Ghostbusters the other day. There's a lot of films that you think are good, but when you actually come around to watching them again, you think, wow, this really is trite. Ghostbusters isn't funny at all. It's unwatchable. It's so unfunny. Footloose. I lasted about 20 minutes. That's on again tonight. Terrible. What else have I watched lately that was bad? Oh, there's some real stinkers that are part of the James Bond canon. They're unwatchable as well. Like every all of the ones that Piers did, apart from the first one, which is great. Weird that Piers, what's his name? Piers somebody. What's his name?
Brosnan.
Piers Brosnan is the correct answer. Would you like to play for the car? Piers Brosnan. The first Piers Brosnan James Bond movie was brilliant. I mean, it was just full-on action, and it was just exactly what you want from James Bond. And then the two after that were dismal. How can they get it so right in one film and so very wrong in another? And some of the Roger Moore ones, I mean, just never mind about killing perps. It looked like he would have trouble getting out of a chair. I mean, arthritic doesn't even cover it. And as for that Jaws guy, well, he could barely walk. I mean, in real life, he could barely walk. So, I mean, don't you think it would be a good idea to have somebody who actually looks threatening? Rather than somebody you could escape from if your legs were tied together. Alexander in Crystal Palace says, hi Nick, I was at the treasonous last night of the woke proms riot scandal at the Royal Albert Hall. I duly took my EU piece of cloth on a stick, as you call it, to wave. Despite having had a long day and feeling very tired, I still made it, although I was soon flagging. Says Alexandra, a listener with material.
Oh no.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
And remember, darling, I don't work before 10 in the morning and never after 4:30 in the afternoon.
Certainly never after 4:30 in the afternoon. Those are my strict rules. 0345 6060 973. John texts, the only reason I can think of for the people of Fareham to continue voting for Braverman is if her majority dropped. She may start knocking on their front door. No one wants to see that. Well, that is just a fact. I mean, can you imagine? Ding dong. And then you open the door and Suella Bradman's standing there. And you're expecting to wake up tied to a bed in Rwanda. 0345 6060 973. Bromley, hello, Joe.
Hello, mate. A great show as always.
Thanks.
Can you remember back to a time when we kind of like all bumbled along and it was all right? Yeah, it was fine, wasn't it? It was fine.
Yeah.
Now it's like catastrophe upon catastrophe, mayhem upon mayhem.
That's right.
Let me ask you this question.
It's what the people voted for, apparently.
What the people voted for. What was his name again? Boris what? Boris. He was the flavour of the month, wasn't he? He was literally wallpapered everywhere across the country.
Yeah.
Where is he now? We never hear his name, barely, do we?
Are you kidding me, Joe? He's got a high-profile column in the biggest-selling mid-market paper in the land.
Written by a teenager for £10 an hour.
Quite possibly,
yeah. Show. Let me ask you this fundamental question. How do we feel, generally, about the armed police officers saying, right, that's it, I'm done, have your guns back, I'm not going out, because, hey, there we are, this is where we got to. Now,
you certainly are making a lot of sense there, Joe. What are you talking about?
Well, you've heard it in the news, of course. The armed response units are now handing back their guns and saying, look, we don't want to be involved.
Are they?
Yes, they are.
Armed response units?
Armed response are now stating that they're going to not get involved and they're handing the guns back. It was on the news earlier on. You can't tell me you didn't know.
No, I didn't listen to the news. I was making a cup of tea.
Good man. But listen, can I ask you this fundamental question?
Okay.
Right? When a criminal points a gun, he has to think once whether to pull the trigger or not. Now, the armed response unit officer has now got to think 10 times about whether he pulls the trigger, otherwise he'll lose his job, he'll go to court, he might go to jail. What kind of world is that?
A safer one? I don't know, Joe. I've got absolutely no idea what you're talking about. 0345. See, that's why some people come with exclamation marks. It's a sign.
Warning!
That's what it says. Was any of that true?
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Wait, no, 1 second. Say it again.
You can't hear me because you didn't have your headphones on.
I had the microphone on for the calls.
Right. Oh, okay. My fault. I understand. Text from Greg in Bristol says, "Hi Nick, Sunak is purely driven by his..." Oh God, this is a very, very long text. Is it worth it? It's like a book. Is this from today or yesterday? Yesterday. Text from Greg in Bristol. "Hi Nick, Sunak is purely driven by his lifelong feeling of class, racial and intellectual subservience combined with an intense lack of empathy. He's forever tried to be part of the club that he can never really be part of. He's no Obama and he never will be." Or is anybody suggesting that he was? His interview as a student when he openly aired that he had no working class friends laid him bare. Said it all. Vacuous, unempathetic, a boring, uninspiring and average at best mathematician who could only think of how he could best look on camera or on paper. And even that he's managed to mess up. Numerous oversights such as non-dom status of his wife and blah 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 blah. Keep it brief, Greg. 0345 6060 973. Inverness, Hagen.
Hi Nick, how are you?
I'm great, mate.
Thanks for taking the call, and I know you don't like callers saying this, but you're keeping us sane here in the cold, wet north.
No, too much pressure.
Don't worry, I'm not a listener with material. I just wanted to speak with you about, I've got a good friend over at the moment, and we were having this discussion about the impact of younger voters and slightly older voters on the outcome of the next election.
Yes.
And I know you were also frequently talking about this on your show. And in reality, this problem is going to be resolved at some point naturally, won't it?
Yes, because the older people will fall off the end of life's conveyor belt. Yes.
Indeed. And what are we doing if younger people don't go to vote anymore, don't go to the elections? What's the scenario then?
Well, then we should shout at them.
And aren't we doing that already?
Well, I suppose so. The thing is that they have become, and I do believe that this is partly a plan from the Conservative Party, that they've just engendered a feeling of helplessness in the public. They think, you hear it so many times, oh, well, you know, what difference will it make if we vote Labour? They're all the same. No, they blooming well are not all the same. And so the party politics just turns them off, so they can't be bothered to go and vote. You know, do it later, can't be bothered. Nothing ever changes. Well, nothing ever changes because you don't vote, you idiots. And just by voting, you will change the course of this country. Not immediately, but gradually and permanently. But they are interested in issues, and those issues do come with a party political affiliation. The Conservative Party doesn't appear to care about the environment. Kids do. So pick a party, kids. Don't wait for the perfect one to come along. Just select the least bad option that you have at the moment.
So, Nick, isn't it time then that we found a party that's only for the young people?
They got those. And if you're wearing trainers, you're not coming in. Vote Green if that's what turns you on. Why not?
Yeah, definitely. Good recommendation. And Nick, before I let you go,
yes.
I've got one question. I've heard and I've read something. They were speaking about you being a seasoned radio host.
Who said that?
I did my own research.
A seasoned radio host? I mean, it makes me sound like a burger.
Indeed, yeah. Maybe it was a typo or something. But will you tell us? Can we still listen to you in the next few weeks on LBC, or do we have to change our Friday night and Saturday night habits?
Well, as far as I'm aware, I'm still on the schedule. So there's no change that I'm aware of. Well, I don't know what you've heard.
Yeah, no, I've heard it from different sources now, and I just thought, I'd take the chance and give you a call. Hopefully, not the last time. And thanks very much for the show.
Okay, appreciate it.
Thank you.
He's taking a chance on me, like Abbot. Yeah, this is something that Clive Bull started, didn't he? He said that Nick was leaving, but he wasn't referring to me at all. It was another Nick. And I don't believe that Nick is leaving either. He's just maybe changing the shift that he's doing. So thanks a lot, Clive. Screwing this show up. Liz says, we have never had it so good, and we all know who she was referring to when she used the word we.
We have never had it so good.
Yeah, exactly. Keith from Tottenham says, Nick, if you study the demographics and do the cucumbers... What? Cucumbers? Pensioners, the calculations, maybe? Pensioners will swing the next election, and we will definitely be voting for the party that has made a commitment to the triple lock. So expect a Lib Dem landslide, especially if they commit to rejoining the EU, which will attract the younger vote. The Tories and Labour have made themselves unelectable now. Well, the Tories might be unelectable, but the Labour Party certainly aren't. They're about 20 points ahead in the polls. And the Lib Dem conference is on. Wow, can you imagine the excitement? Boring! The Liberal Democrats have kicked off their annual conference, reports The Guardian, with a call for people to vote tactically in the general election to remove Conservative MPs until proportional representation makes this unnecessary. Now, it's a couple of famous people who are calling for this, and I bet the Lib Dem leadership were pulling their hair out at the very idea. Gathering in Bournemouth for their first autumn get-together since 2019, a conference rally heard a video address from Carol Vorderman and Steve Coogan. Neither are party members, but they said that people should vote in a way to ensure Tory candidates lost. But that is not in a way that necessarily means that Lib Dem candidates will win. And that's what I would imagine the Liberal Democrats are having a conference about, is to figure out some way of getting their people to win. And then they invite these two along, and they are usurped. The Lib Dems have benefited significantly, apparently, from traditional Labour voters and even disenchanted Conservatives switching their support to overturn big Tory majorities in a string of recent by-elections, says The Guardian. Steve Coogan, an actor and comedian, told the rally that while he normally voted Labour, he would switch to the Lib Dems in the marginal Lewes constituency where he lives to try to oust the incumbent Tory Health Minister, Maria Caulfield. You know Maria Caulfield? No, me neither. Health expert Maria Caulfield. I've no idea. He says, I am not a member of the Lib Dems, and despite the beard and the fleece, I generally vote Labour. But where I live in Lewes, the candidate best placed to kick the Tories out is the Lib Dem candidate, so I vote for them. And there must have been cheering in the hall or the telephone booth or wherever it is that the Lib Dems hold their conference. One of them beachside, seaside huts. Carol Vorderman, on the other hand, the former Countdown co-presenter, already works with a tactical voting website called Stop the Tories. She told the rally, we desperately need to end a system where only marginal seats matter, end a system which delivers parliaments that fail to accurately reflect votes cast, and end a system where only the winner's votes count. Correct. As with much else, Carol Vorderman is completely correct in every respect. 0345 6060 973. Here's a call in Woolwich. Hello, Chris.
Nick.
Chris.
I can't let you get away with saying Ghostbusters is tripe.
Ghostbusters is tripe. It's not. There's not a funny line in it. Be honest.
Please, hear me out. I'm of a slightly younger age than you, surely.
How old?
It was 46.
46 years old. Old enough to know better.
No, it was my benchmark film, and it taught me not to believe, but believe in ghosts.
When was the last time you saw it?
A little while ago.
Yeah, exactly. Watch it again and tell me it's funny. I double dare you. It just isn't. There's nothing funny in it.
Well, there's the nostalgia.
Yeah, you'll get a warm, gooey feeling from watching it, but that's not the same as laughing. A comedy's supposed to be funny.
Fair dues, but there's a couple in there.
No, there just isn't. I tell you, here's a funny film that I watched again just the other day, and I laughed almost as much, if not actually more, the second time I saw it than the first time. It's called Spy, with Melissa McCarthy and Jason Statham.
Yeah.
That is laugh out loud funny, but
Okay,
Ghostbusters isn't.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I mean, if you're talking comedy, then it may have lost its...
Now, I like Bill Murray. I mean, I think that Bill Murray is he's just a funny person, regardless of what he happens to be doing at any...
Dan Aykroyd's okay as well,
Yeah, I don't know about that. I'll tell you what else. I'll go one louder. That thing with Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi. What's that called?
Oh, Blues Brothers.
The Blues Brothers. Yeah, that's not funny either. Not remotely funny for a single solitary second.
I've only seen that when I was very young, so...
Right. So even as a child, you understood that?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, well, I've got homework for you, Chris. Revisit that Ghostbusters film, and I want you to file a full report on that film on my desk first thing tomorrow morning. Thanks a lot, Chris.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Are you trying to be funny? Because I'm all out of laughs.
There is nothing funny about it. 0345 6060 973. Boston, Massachusetts. Oscar.
Hey, Nick, how you doing?
Good, thanks.
I wanted to get a dog, a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, so the XL bully topic is kind of like important to me.
Right.
Yeah, I've just seen, I don't know if you feel strongly about him, but I mean, they're just like, if I get a small dog, I've seen how they'll sprint across like a mile away just to eat your dog.
Yeah, and then it'll eat the dog, and then the person that's got the dog on a lead. It'll eat you too, in one gulp. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I got up this morning. I did my gun class, so I'm going to get my gun license to protect... I'm not afraid for myself, but I mean, for a small dog, I mean, there's no...
And
Yeah.
for any standards, standers by? What's the word? Stand buyers.
Bystanders?
Bystanders is the right answer. Yeah, I would be concerned for any bystanders when you start spraying gunfire around while that dog's eating your legs.
Yeah. That's a good point, but hopefully you just aim down and don't hit anyone.
Yeah, because it always happens like it does in the movies. You'll hit the bullseye with the first shot, and then people will be congratulating you, giving you a small round of applause.
No, I think here this is kind of a strict gun state, but maybe in like Texas where you can just buy a gun with no questions asked. I mean, yeah, they probably congratulate you anytime you shoot anything.
Yeah, anything at all. Yeah. Yeah, that's right, including the shop owner that sold it to you. Yeah, that's right. All right, well, I wish you all the best there, Oscar. I would sleep with one eye open. That's my best advice to you. Don't sleep with that gun underneath your pillow, though. Abby in Surrey says, Nick, you need to contact the makers of that particular jam. Now, the reason why I feel weird, I believe, is because I ate something that was off, not off necessarily, but something that shouldn't have been in jam. I'm pretty sure that that's what made me sick for about 2 weeks running. And again, because I stupidly ate the same jam, I thought, well, it can't be the jam, because it's been sitting in the fridge and it's really nice, apart from the effect that it has on me. And it was all the way down to the bottom, and I thought, well, it'd be all right, just a little bit, and it just made me feel weird again. But you know me, I don't like to complain.
Stop whining.
Abby in Surrey says, Nick, you need to contact the makers of that particular jam and ask for the details of all of the ingredients of their product and let them know the reaction you suffered after ingesting it so that by process of elimination, you and they can detect which of the ingredients you reacted to. This is very important, capital letters. Very important for you to know, because once your body's allergic reaction is primed to a substance, every time you come into contact with it again, the reaction you suffer will be worse than the previous time, and there is a chance of, or possibility of, suffering an anaphylactic reaction, which can be life-threatening. You will need to avoid the substance from now on. I'm not trying to alarm you. This is you not trying to alarm me, is it? But please don't dismiss this as an overreaction on my part. It's just an advice based on my small knowledge of the development and subsequent progress of anaphylaxis. You know anaphylaxis, don't you? She's one of them nudie performance artists.
Disgusting.
That's good advice there, Abby. I absolutely will not do that. Go to a major corporation and say that I just ingested your product. I don't have the receipt, and I've cleaned the jar out, so there is no evidence. But it made me feel very, very odd. What are you going to do about it? Well, they will rain down lawyers' letters on me like it's pouring. They will sue me into a black hole in space. Are you kidding? Just the very idea. Croydon, hello, Terry.
Hello. Oh, hi. You get rainbows. Double rainbows.
Double rainbows, yeah.
Yeah. You nearly always get a double rainbow. You just don't tend to see it because it's very, very faint, very pastel.
Is that right?
Yeah, and it's reflection. The light reflects twice out of the raindrop. But there is a much rarer thing called a double. Called a twin rainbow. And that is caused by two types of raindrop, believe it or not. One is like a round raindrop.
Yeah.
And the other one,
Square.
not making this up.
Square.
No, it's a burgeroid.
A what?
It looks like a burgeroid. It looks like a little burger, a bit flatter. And then you get two distinct rainbows in the same rainbow.
Two distinct rainbows in the same rainbow?
Essentially, yeah. As opposed to with a double rainbow, you'll get a very bright rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you look above or below, depends where the sun is.
Yeah.
Above or below, you'll almost always see a very faint pastel rainbow.
Right. That's what I tried to take a picture of the other day. This is what you're referring to, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I saw a double rainbow, and there is a picture of this on my Twitter feed, maybe a couple of 3 pictures on my Twitter feed of a double rainbow that went from St. Paul's to the City of London. I mean, it couldn't have worked out as well if you'd actually drawn it on a piece of paper. From St. Paul's, where God lives, to the City of London, where the money is. Which is what we all worship now instead of God. I thought that is a sign, that is. So I'm whipping out my phone and I'm taking a picture and I put it on Twitter. But it was a double rainbow, but you can't quite see it in the picture because, as you say, the second rainbow, which was above the visible one, was a little too faint. But it was there.
Yeah, that's right. Interesting, isn't it? They're lovely, aren't they?
It absolutely isn't, no. But thanks for explaining it at length.
That's okay. There was a bloke in California did a PhD on it, believe it or not.
Well, in California, yes, I would definitely,
Dave.
I believe that, yeah. In California, I would totally believe that.
Groovy.
Yeah. A PhD in rainbows. That sounds like California.
Yowza.
Yeah, all right. Good work there, Terry. Thanks a lot, mate. This is educational, this show, no?
No.
Louise in Tyne and Weir said, Nick, could you please make an appeal to the person who has erected a giant Santa and a Christmas tree in a field in Tanfield, County Durham, to stop being so keen for at least a couple of months? I am sick to death of Christmas already, and it's not even October yet. I've been getting Christmas emails since August. It's too soon. There used to be a shop in London that used to just sell Christmas stuff all year long. The Christmas store, I think it was probably called. It don't exist no more, because who the hell wants to buy Christmas stuff in June? Or even in February? No one. It's way too soon. Person in Tanfield, County Durham, who has erected a giant Santa and a Christmas tree. I mean, keep it special. You know, I like Christmas as much as anybody else, but if it starts in August, then it's not special no more, is it? I mean, I know supermarkets are desperately trying to make as much money as they possibly can, because apparently having all the money in the world isn't enough. And so they've got their Christmas display out early in order to, tempt shoppers in, because they might be, short of a mince pie. But it just, you drag it out this much and it's just not a special thing anymore. So at the very most, let's leave it till November. Can we? I mean, when it's dark outside and it's miserable and it's cold and it's raining, just bring a little light into your life with a Christmas tree. That seems to be logical to me. But if you start when it's still sunny out and warm, then that's not Christmas. Come on, people. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. Hang on, I'm going to cough. I thought I could make it to the end, but apparently not. Warning bells were singing in my mind.
Warning, warning.
You're not going to make it. So, I can't remember where I got to. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Yeah, that sounds about right.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
Yeah!
Hi, honey. How are you?
Well, that was a pretty comprehensive results service there. Now I don't have to watch Match of the Day. All that time I've saved. Louise from Tyne and Weir said, Nick, could you please make an appeal to the... No, I've read that one. One moment, please. Josh says, the people thinking a 20-mile-an-hour limit in Wales is a bad idea are the same people that think that allowing 18-year-old Texans to buy machine guns is a good idea. Well, that would work, that thought, if we were talking about 20-mile-an-hour limit in America. You are right, though. America. Doug says, it's about power, not money, and being almost untouchable and knowing there's nothing anyone can do about it. Can you actually give us a clue as to what it is you're talking about? He says that we've got another year of this. Oh, right. Okay. So now I get it. Now I understand.
This government...
Yeah, we've got another year of that. That is assuming that they allow us to have a general election again, and I would not put it past them to cancel it for our protection. You know, something will come up, they'll say, oh, well, we'd love to have a general election at the moment, but unfortunately it's just not safe. Hands up anybody that would completely rule out that as a possibility. Yeah, not many. It's just not safe to have a general election at this time. We will let you know what we think the result would be, and then we'll just go with that. Because, well, you trust us, don't we? Don't you? Don't we? You know, what with the integrity and all.
This government will have integrity, professionalism and accountability at every level.
Yeah.
Level.
Sure. Gerald in Bristol says, "Hi Nick, stealing your Brexit is like someone threatening to kidnap the mother-in-law. Every cloud has a silver lining." And Katie in Bristol says, "To me, leaving the EU means having no contact with the EU at all, which is what I voted for," says Katie from Bristol. You're an idiot, Katie. And I don't mean that to sound insulting. Maidstone. Hello, Rob.
Hiya, Nick. So the Tories are all evil, and Liz Truss said the quiet bit out loud on Monday. Because she said we've got to slow the increase in benefits, and we've got to have stricter work requirements. Mm-hmm. And everyone went, oh, she's being horrible. But at the same time, Richie Sunak in the background has a white paper that says 1.4 million people on sickness benefits will be reassessed. And if they're sick enough, they can apply for PIP. But PIP has a 460,000 waiting list as we speak.
Yeah, they're going to be reassessed.
Yeah,
to within an inch of their lives. Yeah.
Well, I've been through that process, mate, and it ain't easy. We've got the worst long-term benefit system anywhere. It took 3 years to get mine sorted, and I was lucky.
Right. Well, I do believe that we do have some of the worst benefits in the Western world.
Well, we do, but the problem is that 1.4 million people who are already on benefits will end up being £300 a month worse off while they're waiting to be reassessed for a different benefit.
Right.
Just you go this, and then they say that they don't want to be a nanny government and do something about smoking. I'm like, get a bloody life, for a lot of you.
Yeah. OK, all right. Thanks a lot, Rob. Leave it with me. Liz Truss attacked a Labour proposal to hand more power to the budget watchdog, warning that it would not get the economy growing. Not getting the economy growing is a subject in which Liz Truss is an expert.
Absolutely.
The former Prime Minister said it beggared belief that the opposition thought Britain's problems could be solved by bigger government. You know what beggars belief is that the slow-witted car crash that is Liz Bloomin' Truss was ever our Prime Minister in the first place. You believe that? She spoke out after Keir Starmer revealed plans to strengthen powers given to the Office for Budget Responsibility. Truss said the 25-year economic consensus has led to state spending being higher than it's been for around 50 years, taxes at their highest since World War II, and a debt of over £2.5 trillion. Yeah, that's right. Well, reality alert. State spending is high because of the massive fraud that was allowed to happen under, for example, the guise of sourcing PPE equipment, which seems to have benefited those who donate money to the Conservative Party, but which we will never really truly know about because the government has declared that it is not in the public interest to investigate it. And partly due to the economic illiteracy of the man currently at the helm who failed to insure against rising interest rates, which means we're paying billions more to service our debt than we should be. And the only thing that he can say to recommend him for the job of Prime Minister is that he is supposed to know about money. And taxes are at their highest because the debt's been allowed to balloon from 63% of GDP when the Tories took over from Labour in 2010 to over 100% of GDP now. Compared with, say, Germany, which is at 45% of GDP. Exactly the same as they were in 2010. Germany owes the same amount. We owe over double after 13 years of the Tories, of our money safe in their hands. And we have a debt of 2.5 trillion, Liz Truss, because the Conservative Party added 1.5 trillion to the debt that we don't appear to have gotten anything for. Worse NHS, worse schools, worse care system, you name it, it's got worse. Where's the money gone? And by the way, you know, Norway had the same amount of oil and gas reserves in the North Sea as we did. Well, big difference. Norway kept theirs. The Conservatives sold ours, and now Norway is home to the happiest people on earth, and their debt is 13% of their GDP. 13%. Ours is over 100%. I mean, it's not really why Liz Truss is saying these things. She appears to be totally deluded. Maybe she's high on hairspray. And what's incredible is that organisations are still giving her the opportunity to do it. Organisations like the opacally funded so-called think tanks and lobbyists for billionaires and corporations. And you'd have to assume that they are some of the worst corporations as far as the rest of the planet is concerned. I mean, they wouldn't have to push their poisonous ideas in secret if they were helping us. The little people, not leprechauns. I mean, they fund these think tanks and lobbyists because what they're doing is against our interests. The worst polluters and poisoners need friends in high places to be able to overcome the public's anger, to distract us from what they're doing to us. So we have a system that rewards the worst people in the world by allowing them to fund the government in secret. What a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
I can't believe it. Liz Truss said it beggars belief that Labour think that Britain's problems will be solved by bigger government and even more powers for quangos. She said hard-working people and businesses freed from overbearing regulation, tax and debt are going to get Britain growing again, not more bureaucrats in London. Well, you know, bureaucrats and regulations, what they do is protect us from the people who wish to rip us off and ruin our lives for a quick profit. So you can understand why the Conservative right-wingers are not keen on them. Let the market decide, they say. If we let the market decide, cigarettes would be advertised as beneficial to your health. There would still be lead in petrol and sewage in our rivers. No, scratch that last one. The market has been able to decide what it does with our sewage. They charge us to take it away, award that money to themselves, and just pour the sewage straight onto the beach. The market has decided, free of any petty rules and regulations. Freedom! And I'll go back to Norway or Sweden or Finland. You know, those countries always top the happiness index. Why? Because the government gets involved and creates safe spaces for work and a soft landing if something bad happens to you. I mean, here the Tories are taking us to the American model, where it's every person for themselves, which is a policy that people like Truss and Smug,
my view,
and all of that lot, they love it because they've already made it. I mean, there's no problem for them if benefits are cut because they're certain not to need them, apart from the massive benefits that come with being an MP. But they don't count that, of course, do they? Because they're worth it. And the benefits they receive are huge and gold-plated and will last forever. Former Prime Ministers get 115 grand a year for life. Even Liz Truss.
Absolutely.
Who was there for a blink of an eye. I mean, it's not a salary or a pension, it's supposedly for expenses associated with continuing their public duties, the definition of which is so vague as to be irrelevant. No one checks. They demand it, it's given, no questions. 115 grand a year forever. An amount which will go up with inflation, at the very least, you can bet on that. But that's not the limit of the never-ending benefits payouts for a woman who decries benefits payouts, because the Lizbot will also get police protection, paid for by us, and a chauffeured limousine, also paid for by us.
The little people.
Yeah. And of course, because she's still an MP for South West Norfolk, wherever that is, she's also on 84 grand a year plus £250,000 in expenses for a job that she seems to be doing part-time because she's got enough hours in the week to tell anyone who will listen as she brays away at a lectern about how badly she's been treated and how right she was all along, despite all the evidence to the contrary. And every recent Prime Minister has claimed the full amount, by the way. All of them, from John Major onwards, David Cameron included. I mean, what has David Cameron done that could chew through 115 grand if it was solely for the upkeep of his office? Apart from writing a book in a shed. What's he actually done since he started ruining the country on the 13-year-long ride of doom that he set us on? They've all taken the maximum amount they can get, with one exception. Guess. Theresa May. All of them have claimed the maximum amount, apart from Theresa May, who claimed half, apparently. I say, if we must have an unelected Tory Prime Minister, then can it be her? I mean, let's bring back Mrs M. And she can just stand there in her comedy clown shoes till the next election. We could call her Classic Tory. You know, the original flavour, not the effervescent experimental flavours that were imposed on us by the Tory Corporation.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
And it was all about Labour announcing that it would hand more power to the OBR, the Office for Budget Responsibility, to prevent a repeat of the market collapse after Liz Truss's mini-budget a year ago that led to her resignation as a Prime Minister, having been beaten by a lettuce. Under the party's plans, ministers would be legally bound to consult the watchdog on major tax and spending changes to avoid the extra that the markets charge Britain to borrow now, which is known as the moron premium. And we know who the moron was, because she's still going on about how right she was all along.
Absolutely.
Ugh. What have we done to deserve this, eh?
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
Hot H-O-T-A-I-R.
Apropos of my various illnesses, David emails, I remember the cloud of dust at the dump, which was a cloud of builder's dust. I caught a couple of lungfuls. Dust of mysterious origin. And the clouds of asbestos, or the clouds of asbestos that I worked in for an entire day. And now this jam, says David. My God, you live dangerously, he says. Please stop and think in future. I will not. Tell me what to do. Elaine in Swindon says, me again, Nick. Who? Have you noticed, as I have, that people's attention span has been severely diminished? I understand that some of your callers may have to wait for a short time before it's their turn to speak, but could they not make notes? Write it down. Write down a relevant noun, maybe. Thus, being prepared and coherent once their moment is upon them. Just a thought, says Elaine. Picking fights with listeners. 0345 6060 973. Let's see what this one's like. Stevenage, hello, Matthew.
Yes, hi there. I want to say about Jacob Rees-Mogg, how good he was to me and my family when we were younger. He basically taught me how to play chess. I know he's a nice man, I just feel like it's a bit difficult against him at the moment.
Right. OK. Thanks a lot, Matthew. I've got absolutely no idea what that was about, but I seriously doubt that it was about what he said it was about. What's your view?
My view?
Pat text. Oh, this is the last text from last night. Wow, it's only... I've managed to finish it within an hour and a half. Haven't started tonight's texts yet. Still going through yesterday's. Pat says, Nick, it sounds like the left vote is going to be even more split than we thought. I'm constantly arguing with young adults my age that... Young adults my age. OK. With young adults my age, that if we keep squabbling, we'll be getting the Tories again and they will accelerate us to the extreme right, rather than Labour baby-stepping us more left. I am fed up with people my age thinking that we previously had a left-wing utopia. We haven't. Most of our lives have been governed by the right. Who thinks we've had a left-wing utopia in this country? When did that happen? I must have missed that. Let's have Maidstone, Joan.
Hello there, Nick.
Hello there, Joan.
3 little points.
Yes.
First of all, I wonder when our PM is going to ditch his huge indoor heated swimming pool and his flights and all the goodies and luxuries that he has I'll believe then that he's all for climate change.
No, he seems to have made the decision that, like the Republicans in America, as usual, it's what would Donald Trump do, that he's going to get more votes if he can persuade those who think that taking care of the environment is somehow woke. It's a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, he's trying to persuade us, he's all for green and so forth and so on. But I'd like to pass on to a couple of other points.
Yeah.
When you say Norway, right, being happy people, I have a Norwegian friend.
Uh-huh.
A few years ago, I went into the bank with my friend, and she's a Norwegian, and with my grandson, who is then in his 20s. And we not only had a sit down and everything else, we were all offered a cup of coffee.
In the bank?
In the bank. This was a bank manager. Shook our hands. We all sat down and it was incredible. That was the bank in Norway.
In Norway, yeah, just to be clear.
In Norway.
Yeah.
No wonder they're happy people. And finally...
I'm not sure that hanging out with the bank manager would make me happy, but it is an indication of how much money they actually have. Yeah, they're so much richer than we are.
It was okay, it was fine, everybody was happy.
Happy.
Finally...
Yes.
Finally, we are now in the case of the Victorians, the poor and the undeserved poor. The poor that deserve it and so forth and so on.
Right.
Because what is happening, they're not counting now all the volunteers who can't vote, who can't pay taxes and stuff like that. They're looking after their loved ones at home. They don't get any money, so they can't pay their taxes and
Carers.
stuff like that.
They can vote, though.
Well, they can vote, they can vote. But, people are saying, people can only vote if they pay their taxes. This is the latest thing I've heard. Yeah.
Well, pretty soon, Joan, it'll be you can only vote if you vote Conservative. There'll just be a piece of paper with a big square on it that's marked Conservative, and that'll be the only thing that's on that piece of paper. Yeah.
Yeah, madam, the charity I work with, we have people who can't pay their taxes. They're busy looking after their loved ones and so forth and so on, and doing charity work.
Right.
We're really, riding on all the volunteers and charity
There's
work.
a great army of people who are doing the work that should be done for them by the taxes that we pay the government, who are getting absolutely nothing for it. And if they stop work tomorrow, then all hell will be let loose.
That's right. Anyway, there's 3 good points for you to work
Excellent.
on.
All right. Good work, Joan. Cheers, my dear. 0345 6060 973. Steph in Stockport says, we don't have a Prime Minister, we have a 3-headed hydra comprising Rishi Suella and Liz Truss, joined at the hip but each hissing and spitting and warring with each other, a sort of malevolent push-me-pull-you, tearing the UK and each other apart, terrifying to watch, catastrophic for the country. But apart from that, how's things? 0345 6060 973. Sandbach. Hello, John.
Oh, I heard on the news tonight that Sunak's thinking of stopping the HS2 at Birmingham because sudden cost increases and all that. All that kind of stuff.
Not Birmingham. It's going to go from near the centre of Birmingham to a place that I've never heard of, even though I've lived in London for 40-odd years. I can't even remember what it's called now. Old Oak Common or something like that.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't know because I still live in London. But, I mean, I'm just saying, the costs have suddenly increased. I mean, every time a government in this country does an infrastructure...
What?
An infrastructure project.
Yes.
It's like the gangsters saying, oh, great, we're going to make a killing out of this mob.
It costs 10 times as much to produce a mile of track in this country than it does in France. 10 times as much. Why?
And you can transfer that to the NHS, I would think. with their supply system. And they're all lining up thinking, God, listen, we're in quids here.
Yeah.
The English government, they want to build this or build that. We're going to make a killing.
We are a bunch of mugs in this country. Why are we letting this happen to us? The French wouldn't allow this to happen to us. The French would be up in arms, like literally.
Yeah, well, maybe the mugs who lead the country are not so muggish at all.
They're making money hand over fist for them and everyone they know. Yeah.
That's what's the problem. We need a clear out.
Well, we don't need a clear out. We need somebody we do, but we need somebody to investigate where every single solitary penny has gone, and put those who are guilty of malfeasance in the dock and send them to jail forever.
Brilliant, exactly.
But it's not going to happen, John, because the government has decided that it is not in the public's interest. I'm not making that up. They have actually decided that. Judges are not to look into this issue because it's not in the public interest where our money has gone. That's actually true.
Says a lot for our judges when they just sit there and take it.
Well, they're made from the same stock, aren't they? Judges are the same kind of people as these people.
My view.
Him. They're all the same people. They probably went to university together. They probably went to school together, and we all know which bloomin' school they went to. The problem with this country is not the people who are getting out of small boats. It's the people who are getting out of Eton. Thanks a lot, John. 0345 6060 973. This text says, did you see the recent pic of Orange Jesus where the spray tan faded around his hairline? How orange shell is finally shedding. How orange shell is finally shedding. Does that make sense? The picture of Donald Trump where his spray tan faded around his hairline, I mean, that's every picture of Donald Trump.
Oh, shut up!
It always looks like that. Oh, my God, I cannot stand it. He's going to be the next president of the United States of America, isn't he?
I can be more presidential than anybody.
He just is. I just know it. It's not... Things are not going to get better. They're about to get much, much worse, because he is going to be on a revenge mission. Never mind about leader of the free world. He's just going to want to enact revenge against everyone who said bad things about his waistline. 0345 6060 973. Alana tweets, Nick, stop using the word woke. It means to have woken up from a sleep. It's like the term gobsmacked, really annoying. Well, I'm only using the word woke because various right-wing foamers have used it as an insult. But it's not an insult. It's only an insult. I mean, if you're the kind of person that really dislikes any act of kindness, that it makes you angry that people can be nice to each other. What the hell has happened to this country that is now an insult? Being woke is an insult now. Being concerned for the feelings of others makes right-wingers angry. The whole world's gone insane. Chris says, I saw the pictures of the XL Bully March. Do you get a free tattoo with every XL Bully? Yeah, on your face.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
Right, so what are we doing?
Given we're doing a radio show, but it does remind me I do a podcast with Carol McGiffin.
Yeah.
In which Carol and I try to solve people's problems while guffawing like a couple of hyenas. Now, if you want us to have a bash at your issue, then you are going to have to send it to the following address, nickandcarol@global.com, nickandcarol@global.com, but you will have to prepare to be totally satisfied. Ask for it by name, on an internet near you, what's your problem with Nick and Carol? And we're about to do a 200th episode. All of which are available online. It's on Global Player, if you have Global Player. If you haven't, get it for free from your App Store or globalplayer.com. But ask for it by name. On an internet near you, what's your problem with Nick and Carol? If you wish to be amused, I think it would be right up your alley.
Oh, right, yeah.
Here's a call in Westminster. Hassan.
Yeah. Hey, Nick, I wanted to talk about HS2, but you've already covered it, that it's gone from 30 billion to 100 billion.
Yeah.
And what can we do about it?
10 times what it would cost to build that same thing in France. 10 times.
10 times, right? And so we're not even talking about the Chinese who have been sort of rolling out high-speed rail like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah.
We're comparing ourselves to not the evil Chinese, but equally evil.
Yeah, the working 3 days a week for a couple of hours in the afternoon. French people, yeah,
absolutely. But I think what is interesting is I think we should start stealing some Chinese technology because we've already always been accusing them.
Yeah.
That they are always stealing technology.
Yeah, they nick our best ideas, like I don't know, stiffeners in shirt collars. So we should nick some of theirs.
No, absolutely. But what is remarkable is that if you look at the total number of patents, technology patents people have filed, the country with the largest number of patents is China. So nearly twice more patents than the Americans and 20 times more patents than us plucky, intelligent Brits.
Right.
So I think this entire sort of stereotyping of the Chinese as being just copycats, I think, is very outdated.
Yes, that's the thing with being first. I mean, we were the first with the Industrial Revolution, so we made all the mistakes. We did trial and error, and so on and so on. And then the rest of the world, they looked at what we were doing, and they skipped straight to the efficient stage. They didn't have to go through all the trial and error because we did that for them. So you don't really want to be first with any sort of major technological breakthrough. And so the Chinese did ride on the backs of mostly the Americans. But now, of course, they've got their own infrastructure in place to go and take over the world. And we used to, or we still do to a certain extent, get them to make all our cheap plastic crap. Pretty soon, we're going to be making it for them.
No, but I think the good thing about letting them make it is that we can pretend that our global emissions have gone down while we've just sort of
we just offshored them
over to somebody else.
Yeah,
offshored
exactly.
Them, right? And so then we can argue that we don't need to worry about 2035 or 2030. We can just delay it to 2035 because we've already sort of magically reduced it because we just pay somebody else to do it.
Yeah, that's right. It's like saying, well, I don't have any rubbish for the bin men to collect because I simply throw it over the fence into next door's garden.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have the cleanest...
the cleanest house in the street, exactly. Yeah. All right, good work. Thanks a lot, Hassan. Cheers, mate. 0345 6060 973. Lucy from Balham says, hi, Nick. Now we are a truly effluent nation. That is true, yeah. See that bloke out of the undertones for full details. He is doing an excellent job, by the way. It's not making much of a difference so far, but at least it is discombobulating the water industry. What a racket that is. They take our money. We pay them. We've been paying them for decades now to clean up our mess. They've said thanks very much. They've awarded that money to themselves for excellence in showing up for work, and they've just poured the mess straight into the rivers and onto our beaches. And now they say that if you actually want us to clean up after you, well, you're going to have to pay us more. More!
What?
How about we get a refund on the hundreds of billions of pounds that we paid you already for a job that you haven't done? Would that be a good idea? Probably not. It's probably illegal to say that out loud in free speech Britain. Chris says, I saw the picture... No, read that one. Dave says, every rainbow is a double rainbow, and it's darker in between them. You really need to get out of that smoggy city or charge people for driving polluting vehicles or something. Hey, get Mayor Khan on the phone. I've just had a brilliant idea. It'll be very popular. Let's have... let's see now. Who should we have? Ip Dip Sky Blue. New Cross. Hello, Stuart.
Hi, Nick. It was about those 20 miles per hour speed limits they introduced in Wales, last week. Mm-hmm. I'm all for 20, and it slows down the the traffic and flows more smoothly. But in London, I don't know if you know the South Circular between the sort of Eltham and Woolwich in southeast London. It's a 4-lane dual carriageway, and they've introduced 20 on it last week.
Oh yeah,
and there's no pedestrians anywhere. It's clear line of sight. And when I'm in my driving the school car, of course I teach my students to abide by the speed limit. So we're doing 20.
Yeah.
And they're and everyone's just aggressively overtaking us.
Yeah.
And it just feels like the whole road's more dangerous. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know if this is all a bit misguided by TfL, Transport for London.
Well, as you've described it, that sounds misguided. Yeah, I mean, 20 is good in built-up areas where kids might be running into the road after a football. Because because it'd be best not to kill too many children on the way back home. That would be a good idea. But not in a dual carriageway. What would be the point of that?
This is what they've done, and I think it's really alienating a lot of motorists.
The problem with 20 is not 20. The problem with 20 is that the people behind you think that going at 20 it should be some sort of a death penalty offence.
Yeah. Yes. It's kind of like, obviously I'm quite a minority driver on the road because I'm in the driving school car and most people aren't, of course. So it's kind of like, the aggression. And you've said it before, when you're driving at the speed limit, you can see in your mirror people are sort of literally putting their fists up saying you drive faster. It's kind of absurd. So, I don't know, it's kind of, I quite agree with, in London, you wouldn't get any faster. You don't get anywhere any quicker.
That's true.
By doing 30 or 40, because you just stop at the next traffic light for longer. But it's really causing a lot of problems with...
Well, not in a dual carriageway. That don't make no sense to me. Unless there are extenuating circumstances. I don't know the road that you're referring to, but it's
literally like, it's like 2 lanes each side.
Yeah.
And it's towards the Woolwich Ferry.
Right, well, that sounds like it should be at least 30 to me.
Yeah.
As you have described
it. 20, and it's completely absurd. And literally, the first day we did 20, everyone is just driving round us and overtaking.
Berserk.
It just felt absolutely absurd.
Having a fit, you could see through concrete. Yeah, I know.
I love that joke you said, because I texted about a year or so back about it never ceases to amaze me how people try and get around my car. And you we'll just put guns and something else around.
I pay my taxes. Really why can't I have flamethrowers front and back?
Yes, exactly.
All right, thanks a lot, Stuart. Don't take your eyes off your speedometer for a single solitary second. Not to look out the windscreen or look in your rearview mirror or anything. Tom says, as somebody who voted Brexit back in 2016, I can't think of a single good reason as to why I did. I think I just caught up in the propaganda and wanted to see Remainers cry. If we had another referendum, I bet more than 60% would vote to rejoin. Well, that's the polling. That is the polling. And, of course, there was a big march today. Did it get a lot of press? No. But the Express had a story about it, if you can believe it. I mean, when I read all the websites this afternoon, I mean, I think that a small story has subsequently appeared in The Guardian, but they didn't have anything while the thing was going on. And neither did any other website. The Mail, completely conspicuous by its absence. They had it looked like a prison break, that XL bully dog march. You know, the march for... to persuade people that those XL bully dogs are really soft and lovely, to which they were asked not to take their dogs in case their dogs went berserk. It's a small dichotomy there, but, we'll just pull a veil over that. But the Rejoin March, the Express tried to do a gotcha. Did you read about that? Well, I'll get to that in a minute. Jill in Purley says they didn't take their dogs because they knew there'd be a huge fight and a bloodbath if they did. And Austin says, I'll stick with my Irish red setter, Nick. She has a lovely temperament. I don't know. Red setters, they're a bit crazy, aren't they? They're a bit, Like a bit. Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Leading Britain's conversation, Nick Abbott. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
What in places goes on inside that head of yours?
Amelia from Hitchin says, is completely reasonable to ensure that young adults don't start smoking and bans cigarettes until 2030 so they can live longer. Amelia, check what you're writing before you send it. There's more. But then it is completely unreasonable to get rid of diesel until 2030 so the same young adults and many more can die faster from the polluted air than if they were smoking 20 a day. Great idea. He is gripping it, says Amelia.
I'm gripping it.
He is gripping it. I bet that no such ban on young people's buying cigarettes comes to pass. Anyone want to bet that? That's another one of these distraction bombs. They'll start throwing them out like here, there and everywhere, baby. People will just pants on that and go, oh, yeah, great idea, or that is an absolutely terrible idea, and within a couple of days he's thrown another one out the window. Here you are, wrestle with that one for a while. 0345 6060 973. No such cigarette ban is going to happen. I betcha, betcha, betcha. Tooting. Hello, Jan.
Hi, Nick. Hi. Good evening.
Jan.
Well, I wanted to share something with you, a couple of things. One is two quite separate areas. I hope I have time for the second one because it's a bit light-hearted. But the first one is...
Oh, the preamble has gone on forever, so...
No, I better get down to it, yeah. So, since during the lockdown, I never went to my library, and I've only recently gone back to my local library.
Yeah.
Was staggered to find out a couple of things. One is that...
It's not there anymore. It's been replaced by a tower block of luxury executive flatlets.
No, it is there, but I think... In the past, there was a limit on the number of books. This is just a preamble. This isn't the main point I rang you about. But
no, this is another point. This is a sub-point to your main point.
No, yeah, it's a
or
sub-point.
Are we even on your main point yet? We're still,
no, I'm coming
we're
to
still
it.
skirting around the foothills
blown.
of your point, yes.
Yeah, my mind was blown by what I'll come to. But it's just that it can't be being used much because they extended the maximum amount of books you can take out to 50.
What?
Yeah, I mean...
Did you just say, hang on a minute, 50, 50?
50 books. I used to take out the maximum of 20 books when it was, before the lockdown.
Why would anybody need 20 books?
Well, it's for reference and things. I mean...
Reference? Are you studying?
Well, yeah, I've never stopped studying. No, but listen, but now it's 50. I was shocked. I thought, gosh, I said, I'm going to have to come here with my shopping trolley.
I don't think you can possibly have that right.
No, I'm a bit notorious because I think they know me as someone who used to take out the maximum amount of books.
Yeah.
But listen, I rang because I haven't been there for so long and found out that there's the 50 books, I'm planning to take.
I can't believe that that's right. You can't have that right. 50, I mean,
yeah,
5, when I last went to a library, which was absolutely ages ago, I think it was 5 was the maximum, which seems like plenty to me. How many books do you actually need in your life?
Well, I'm running out of space.
Yeah, you're supposed to give them back,
I know, I apologise. I'm taking some of them back in stages.
Right.
But before I can take any more out, 50, I couldn't believe it.
You get any more than that, Jan, you're going to have to hire a skip.
Nick, but listen, what it is, I mean, they do really try. They do try, I must admit. They've got some posters up this is what knocked me out, from the UNHCR, my eyes were wide open when I was there. And I was shocked to read the statistics. I was kind of blown away, not shocked. I was stunned.
Okay, you've run through the gamut of emotions. Tell us what it was that stunned you.
Yeah, so they had the UNHCR teaching posters up about the refugee agent. They're the United Nations Refugee Agency, global agency for refugees.
Yes.
And they had these posters up that are used in educational settings. And I was looking at them carefully. I've even taken photos of them on my mobile phone.
Well, what did they say? Don't keep us in suspense.
It said that 1 in 78 people on Earth are fleeing persecution, violence, war, and that milestone was reached. Those are the statistics from last year, 2022, the 100 million people fleeing. wanting refugee status.
Yeah, at least, I would imagine. At the very least, 100 million people. We haven't. I mean, climate change hasn't really started to get going yet. I mean, I know that there's a shocking story every day lately about climate change affecting somebody, but it's going to start affecting people's ability to grow food. And then they'll have two choices. They can just sit down and die where they are, or they can try and go somewhere else. And you know where somewhere else is? Here.
No, that's it. That's what I'm coming to.
I'm not saying that they're all coming here, but I'm saying that this is somewhere else, as is the rest of Europe and America and, where all the rich people live.
Yeah, because, look, here they say now the projected figures for 2050, when this climate change is going to really affect, populations, more displaced people. They're saying they're going to be 1 billion.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
At the moment it's 100 million. But
we're going to need a bigger wall.
But I was trying to find out what happened to all those people. The people, 8,000 migrants in 3 days landed on that small Italian island.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
More than the people that actually live there. Yeah.
Yeah, more than people. And they've only got reception centres for 400.
Yeah, this is just the start, everybody. I mean, people are complaining about what's happening now, but this is just the beginning. Just wait. There's going to be, if you think this is an invasion, then prepare yourselves.
But I was trying to find out what have they done to them. They say they sent some to the larger island of Sicily. This is like Meloni, very right-wing, president of Italy, has been trying to get a blockade on them, but that's against the law.
And you saw all this on a poster in the library?
Oh, no, this was in the paper this week. No, that figure, the 1 in 78 people on Earth being displaced, that really shocked me. I didn't know.
And those 50 books that you've got out, what are they?
I haven't got the books out.
I thought you said you've got 50 books out.
I've got to return some back that I've had.
And what are they about? What are they? You've had them since lockdown. I mean, you're going to be writing a check for a 6-figure sum. They're going to sue you into a black hole in space. You've had those books since lockdown, 2 weeks maximum.
No, you can renew them. You can renew them endlessly if no one else wants them.
Yeah, well, that would mean that the library shelves would be completely bare for anybody else. Don't hoard them. Give them back.
But no one else is reading them. If people want
because
them,
you've got them. No one else is reading them. Because they're in your home, Jan. Of course not. You should open your home as a library would be a good idea. Anyway, got to go. Cheers, my dear. 0345 6060 973. This email says, I was going to say the same thing. What, as what? Well, read on, you might find out. I was going to say the same thing. It says, we don't need a DNA test. Just look at the mutant, monster, idiot humans made. Oh, we're talking about dogs, those XL bully dogs. Yeah, Rishi Sunak is going to convene a panel. Oh, great.
Fabulous.
Yeah, they're going to think about it for a year. Just because we can make these Frankenstein creations, it doesn't mean we should, it says. We've only been around 5 minutes. I'm sure they can get along without them. They've only been around for 5 minutes. Why are no other dogs acceptable? Why does it just have to be those things? They're obviously not dog lovers, or they'd get a dog, not a monster. Exactly. Yes. For more of my thoughts on this issue, I refer you to the comments I made some while ago at the beginning of this programme, which, by the way, almost the moment it's finished, will be available as a podcast on the World Wide Web. Did you know about that? Oh, yeah, we stick the Friday and Saturday night shows up the internet. We take the news and most of the ads out, mostly, which means it takes less time to listen to. You'll use less electricity, and by that method, you'll be able to do your bit to get to net zero. Which these days I think makes you an enemy of the people. Boo! Being concerned for your own planet, for where you live, makes you woke. And that's a bad thing, apparently, in this crazy, shook-up world. Maidenhead. Paul.
Hey, Nick.
Paul.
How you doing?
Good, thanks. Well, that went well.
that last caller was funny.
Okay.
I went to my library and all the books had gone. She's got them.
Yeah, she's got them. Yeah.
Yeah, she's got them. I want them back. But what it is during COVID, allegedly, Boris, said, let the bodies pile high.
Yes.
That was about his own country. Now, apart from stupid countries like North Korea and other dictatorships, what country has actually said, I don't even think the German Mr. Hitler said that about his own people in World War II, but allegedly Johnson said that during lockdown.
Right, okay, when we go to the Hitler place, I lose interest rapidly. Boris Johnson isn't Hitler, are you, Bodge?
I can't comment on that.
He's going to look into that and get back to us later. But, yeah, he said, as far as we're aware, he said, let the bodies pile high, or words to that effect, yeah. And then he went and had one of his all-night-long business meetings. Bring your own suitcase of booze, yeah. Thanks a lot, Paul. Bob in Norfolk says, I'm voting for Richie now that he's reversed that ridiculous decision that every household has to have 7 XL bullies. I do hope that the nickname Rishi Seven Bins catches on. Or Seven Bins Sunak, or Sunak Seven Bins, or, words to that effect. Somebody with a brighter mind than mine will have to come up with something along those lines. Adam in Slough says, Fishy Sunak needs to speak about how much he cares about the poor and how he wants to help them and not burden them with ULEZ charges and future fictional net zero policies. The man who only last year wanted to burden the poor with a loan to help with energy bills. That was his plan A. Believe him the first time, says Adam. Yeah, when they tell you who they are, believe them the first time. Exactly.
My view.
Precisely. And if they ever tell you that they are being guided by their faith...
Warning, warning!
Run in the opposite direction. 0345 6060 973. You can text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. So I did scan the papers, the websites, for any mention of the Rejoin the EU march, but there were the words were few and far between. But the Express tried to have a go. They tried a gotcha, which failed. I don't know whether people are actually reading this stuff before they put it out on their websites, but it was a bit of a fail. So I'll come to that in a minute, and much else besides. 0345 6060 973, Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and...
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
Anybody care what this guy thinks?
No! Everything is going extremely well.
0345 6060 973. I think our newsreader has been eating some jam. Very, very dangerous.
Warning, warning!
Adam in Slough says, Nick, Fishy Sunak speaks about... No, wait, read that. Text, it says, I was on the Rejoin March. It was tens of thousands, great vibe and dignified. We got called bleeping traitors by a bloke with a Union with a Union Jack and no teeth as he stomped about on the Cenotaph steps while we told him to show some respect and get off. Turns out we were with the ULEZ demo. Now they're a proper bunch. What are you talking about? There was no ULEZ demo today. There was a dogs demo, but not a ULEZ one, not to my knowledge. Yeah, the Express went... they tried to go full in and do a gotcha. This is the headline. Protesting Ramonas stumped after being asked to explain why they miss the EU. Die-hard Remainer activists who marched across London this afternoon were left squirming by a simple question asking what they missed about being in the European Union. This is the Express. Remainers struggled to respond when asked what they missed about the European Union. Thousands of pro-EU protesters took to the streets in the capital, demanding the UK rejoin the European bloc. One woman who was wearing a yellow curly wig and a shirt emblazoned with the EU flag suggested that the economies of other EU member states have, quotes, recovered a lot better than we have, which is true. The interviewer pointed out, Germany is in recession, though, and we're not, so how is that true? Well, let me help you there. Germany's debt to GDP is 40%. Our debt to GDP is over 100%. And Germany's long-term interest rate, the rate that it can borrow on the markets, is 2.5%. Ours is 4.4%. We get charged more because we are seen as a riskier bet, which is also known as the moron premium.
Absolutely.
Because of that moron. And Germany actually makes things for a living. Our economy is dependent on us buying things we don't need with money we haven't got. And in Germany, you don't have to wait 2 years to be seen by a consultant. And you can live in any one of 26 other European countries and trade with them without having to fill in enough forms to fill the Albert Hall. But that's just me saying that. A lefty woke Ramona. But I needn't have bothered because the Express then seemed to refute its own argument by blurting out that, in the latest Office for National Statistics figures, the UK economy shrank by 0.5%, which is a lot more than the 0.1%, which is what Germany's economy shrank by. An economy that's $4.26 trillion compared to ours, which is less than 3/4 that size. So, smaller. And the Mail reports that in Britain, the Purchasing Managers Index, which is a measure of companies' confidence in the future, the prevailing direction of the economy, it shrank to its lowest level since January 2021. And we're on course for our economy to shrink 0.4% in the third quarter, having already shrunk by 0.5%, which is a lot worse than Germany is doing. But seemingly unaware that it's hold its own argument under the waterline, the Express went on. In another encounter, they write, a protester was asked what he missed about the European Union, and the man hesitated for a number of seconds before simply responding, I like the EU. Yeah, that's right. Everything about it. Freedom to live and work where you want, freedom to trade with 450 million other people without impediment, having a say in our own laws instead of just accepting what more powerful players impose on us because we aren't big enough to dictate terms. Our government is braying about joining the CPTPP and getting a 0.08% boost over 10 years, while we lost 4 to 5% off our economy by leaving the EU. And when they say, I like the EU, they might be thinking, well, I like money. And I bet every penny I've got that no leaver can articulate what they love about being out of the EU. Apart from some fantasy about being free, which was a lie peddled by the rich who were betting that our economy would suffer if they could only get enough gullible people to believe the propaganda about us being held back by Brussels. And they won that bet. They made huge fortunes, hundreds of millions of pounds, by betting that the thing they were advocating for, leaving the EU, would be a disaster for us, the little people. What about that doesn't sound like treason? Just about the only paper that covered the Rejoin March at all, the Express, wanted to do a hit job on the Rejoin March, but they failed to score in front of an open goal. They had a blank sheet of paper. They could have written anything, but they made the rejoiners' arguments for them. I can only assume because there was no one senior in the office today and they let the work experience kids write it. And by the way, the polls are clear. Public opinion has turned against Brexit. A YouGov survey finds that most Britons would now vote to remain in the EU if the referendum was held again, and likewise would vote to rejoin if such a vote was called. How would Britons vote if the EU referendum were taking place in 2023? 55% said that the EU referendum, if it took place now, they would vote to remain. 3 in 10 said they'd vote to leave. That gives a headline voting intention of 64% to remain, 36% to leave. Headline voting intention, that excludes those who either don't intend to vote or don't know. So it's not 48 to 52 anymore. It's 64 to 36 to stay. 57% of Britons say that the country was wrong to vote to leave in 2016. That's the highest figure that YouGov has ever recorded. And it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. By comparison, 1 in 3 think it was the right call. 63% of Britons would consider Brexit to have been more of a failure than a success, including Nigel bloomin' Farage.
Brexit's going great.
He doesn't think that anymore. So, I was going to say good effort, the Express, but it wasn't even that. It was just so half-hearted. Kind of pathetic, really. A little bit sad, actually. 0345 6060 973. Cornwall. Malcolm.
Oh, hello, Nick. How are you?
Great, mate.
Keir Starmer is going to announce an election-winning strategy on Monday morning. Plans to tax the rich, 100% gone.
Yes.
Plan to close public schools, gone. Plans to, well, you can imagine the sort of list.
I get the idea, yeah.
Listen, how does a prime minister stand in and you're a bit of a psychologist, aren't you, right? Now, how does a prime minister who backed a manifesto, has introduced a whole load of policies himself in his premiership, how does he go into an election thinking he's got any hope of winning on the basis of his new manifesto, given that his old manifesto, he has implemented the policies and he is now literally scrapping them all?
I imagine that he is so divorced from what the rest of us might call reality that he just thinks that he can keep winning, because up to this point in his life, he's never lost at all, ever. He's had his entire life gifted in on a scented cushion. Yeah.
Well, look, he scrapped. He has done. It's happened. He scrapped this home energy efficiency board or committee, or whatever they are. Right? Do you know who the boss of that was?
Go on.
She's the woman Rose, who was the head of NatWest Bank, and there was another chap who was the head of Barrett Home. Now, what are these people going to be thinking? And I think the woman from NatWest Bank, I'm wondering, is there a bit of personal animus there? Because Sunak backed Farage to the hilt over his debanking issue.
Oh, right.
And he was going to introduce laws.
That non-event.
Yeah, and he was going to introduce laws to stop it ever happening again to anybody.
Yeah, sure.
And not only that, she got sacked from NatWest, and now he has scrapped the thing that she was the head of.
I think the reason he scrapped that is irrespective of anybody that he may or may not have an animus with. I believe that he's done it because he thinks that there are votes. Wait a minute. He thinks that there are votes in persuading mouth breathers that taking care of our home is somehow woke.
Yeah. Well, look, Liz Truss and Boris Johnson, they both pulled in as personal assistants a number of people from Tufton Street, the Institute of Economic Affairs, various other think tanks. They pulled people out of them, and no doubt Sunak will have a number of them in his employ as well.
Yes.
And all of these policies will literally enrich the people in Tufton Street, because the people who fund those bodies...
Yeah, the mysterious people that fund those bodies are either multinational corporations whose business is to poison and pollute, or they're billionaires who for whom enough is never enough.
But when will the public wake up?
I don't know.
And that one thing alone, Tufton Street Tories, Tories, Tufton Street.
Yeah, but I think you got it the wrong way round. Rishi Sunak is not employing them. They are working him like a Thunderbird's puppet. Wake up, sheeple. It's later than you think. All right, Malcolm, I've got to go. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Yeah, and they get on the TV and the radio all the time, all of those people. With the innocent-sounding names. You know, like the Tories, like every other week they started up a new group, the study group of this, or the net zero scrutiny group, or, you know, they didn't sound like they would be evil, but a lot of them actually were. The exact opposite of what the name of the group was. And if they refuse to tell you who is funding them, then warning bells should be playing in your mind.
Warning, warning.
If they're not telling you where they're getting their money from, then why is anybody actually giving them the oxygen of publicity? Why? You would have to assume that they're getting their money from the worst people in the world. Because if the people are engaged in nice things, if they're making, I don't know, chocolate, or if they're making cute little pussycats or something like that, then they don't need to secretly fund governments to switch policy to benefit them. But if they're poisoning us, you know, cigarette manufacturers or oil companies or, you know, the multinational chemical racket and so on and so forth. If they're poisoning us, then there is great a benefit. Or they're ripping us off, you know, the financial finaglers, great benefit in funding governments. To let them continue to get away with it. But it's just extraordinary to me that, you know, TV companies particularly, they allow these people to come on and then spout their BS and don't question them as to why they're saying this stuff. Where are they getting the money from? Who's working the strings in the background? It's just left to, it's a mystery. Oh, well, I trust you. Sure, why not? Why wouldn't I?
Leading Britain's conversation. Nick Abbot. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
You've got a good, you know, your mind is a little bit, you know what I mean, three-dimensional.
Lydia emails, I was on the Rejoin March and we encountered a small ULEZ protest and also a couple of people holding anti-vax signs. What? Anti-vax? Isn't that ancient history now? John from Shoreham-on-Sea says, I keep having recurring nightmares about Bodger being the US Vice President due to his dual nationality. The US Vice President for the Screaming Mimi. The taking over as president once the Satsuma leaves. Any suggestions, says John. Yeah, read your text before you send it next time, John. It just barely made any sense. Just barely. Merthyr Tydfil. Hello, Jeff.
Whoa, Nick. How are you getting on, boy?
All right, thanks.
You must have a good night tonight in the Goose and Cuckoo.
Oh, yeah.
In Upper Hanover, but there you go. That's history now. It's the 20... I think it's just about on the cusp of the autumn equinox. And down this neck of the woods, we make prophecies.
Oh, yeah.
It's prophecy time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to tell you that the UK is on the verge of breaking up because of the rotten corruption, the vile...
Now, what do you mean by breaking up? You mean somebody's going to cut Wales off and push it off to sea? What?
Yeah, we'll cut loose. Scotland, Northern Ireland, whatever, unite with whatever, because you just can't keep going like this. As you pointed out very, very eloquently, the problems, they're not problems, it's just looting. They've looted this country.
Yes. It does look like that, and they're not even trying to hide it anymore. It's like they're telling you that they're picking your pocket while they're picking your pocket.
Exactly. And they just keep on doing it as blatantly and as don't care a tuppenny toss what you think or do. They will keep on going.
They've got away with it. They even while they're doing it, they have engineered it such that they have got away with it. Nothing is going to happen to these people. They've taken the money. It's not coming back. They're not going to jail. They're going to the House of Lords.
Exactly. And the whole situation will result in what I'm now going to prophesy. Because down in this neck of the woods, in Wales, with Druids, we go back a long way, and we're going to prophesy. And the prophecy is this, and it's quite simple for all your listeners. This will result in the breakup of the UK.
I have a prophecy too. No such thing will happen. Nothing. In fact, nothing will happen at all. We'll shrug our shoulders, say, "Oh well, mustn't grumble," and then carry on regardless.
You may be right.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Thanks a lot, Jeff. I wouldn't put any money on that prophecy. Not yours, anyway. Constantine texts, hello, Nick. Did you hear how revolted that lady from the news was about the government that wants to forbid cigarettes? How can the government refuse the right of people to smoke, like they forbid the right to eat? If she's so revolted about people not being able to choose to smoke, why not cocaine or meth? What about my right to get those? What a nanny state. I want my drugs, says Constantine. It sounds like you've had plenty, Constantine. Maybe want to cut down a bit. 0345 6060 973. Rochester, Lulu.
Oh, hello, Nick, darling.
Lulu.
How are you?
I am great, mate.
Oh, thank you. So I wanted to be on the Rejoin March today.
Yeah.
I've been on the People's Vote marches, all the other marches. I couldn't be there today. I had a prior engagement. I'm just absolutely sickened at the fact that it's nowhere to be seen on the TV news.
No.
I was watching before I went out, nothing. I've come home, I've put the TV on, nothing. But you know what? I think they're just running scared now because they know that the majority of this country want to be back in the EU.
Well, the right-wing press are really concerned because it is the will of the people now, which doesn't fit the stories that they've already written about this. I mean, they must have stories already written. All they need to do is change the date on them. That, you know, like Ramona's this and... the evil EU, that they're holding us back and they're jealous of our freedom and, you know, all that nonsense. But people don't buy that anymore.
No, people are waking up to the reality that Brexit, sorry, I normally call it another word. But
something else.
Yeah,
yes.
Is an absolute disaster. People know that. People are feeling it. They're seeing in their daily lives what a disaster it is.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I think that is making a lot of people very scared. I mean, what was that idiot Frost said the other day? Oh, they're trying to take our Brexit away from us. Yeah, come on, let's do it, you know?
You mean
the melting candle.
David Frost, the melting candle. Yeah.
Yeah, that moron.
I cannot believe that people are paying him money for his ideas. I mean,
I know.
I mean, that's just laughable. At least he's in the Daily Telegraph, where he's easy to ignore.
I know. But you know what? One of the previous People's Votes marches I went on, and we all congregated in Parliament Square, and Keir Starmer spoke passionately about remaining in the EU. And so I was disgusted this week for him to say, there's no case for us rejoining.
Yeah.
Of course there's a blinking case. I mean, you know, it's like the nose on your face. It's so obvious.
It's blatant.
We have to rejoin.
Exactly.
And why is he playing at? I mean, I know he's running scared of these boneheads in the red wall, but even then...
There's so few of them now. I mean, their numbers have dwindled, apart from just natural loss from, you know, the more aged and infirm falling off the end of life's conveyor belt. Apart from that... There's so many people who have seen the result of Brexit, have realised that they've been lied to, and so have changed their minds. The numbers far outweigh those mouth breathers who still think that Brexit has in some way given them freedom. So I don't get why even the Lib Dems aren't rowing back on their position on Brexit.
Because I was really hoping next election that obviously, we all want the Tories to be wiped out, and of course we'll vote tactically to make that happen. However, I really didn't want Labour to get a landslide. I wanted them to have to form a coalition with the Lib Dems, because I thought the Lib Dems are the voice of reason.
And the Greens. I think the Greens are the voice of reason.
Yeah. But, if the Lib Dems are now saying, there's no case, I mean, come on.
I'd have to assume that what they say now does not necessarily reflect what they would do when in power.
Yeah,
because,
this is what I'm hoping.
But I think it is a function of we are led by whoever shouts the loudest. I mean, they're a dwindling band of obsessives, but they shout really loudly.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said earlier in the show, somebody asked someone on the march, what do you miss about the EU?
Yeah.
I've got a blinking list.
Everything.
Top of which is, I wanted to retire in France. Can't do that now.
Yeah.
There are a litany of things that we miss from the EU. And it's ironic, isn't it? We are so in need now of another sort of organisation to protect us from our own government, because we've got the worst criminal government in history.
Apart from anything else, that I agree with you 100%. I actually thought that we were made safer by a body that oversaw or at least had a say in the direction of travel in this country. Because without any hindrance, I think the Conservative Party, it's not like a political party anymore. It's just like they're a ram raid.
They are... I mean, they're the worst human beings on the planet.
Well,
no doubt about
let's not get carried away, Lulu. Maybe not the worst.
You're better informed than I am. I don't know anything.
Well, he's not completely certain. He could go one way or the other.
I don't know anything.
He doesn't know anything about that whole worst people in the world thing. But perhaps he could be persuaded. You, Bodge?
I can't comment on that.
Worst people in the world, Liz?
Absolutely.
Well, she's certain. Lulu, gotta go. Thanks for that. 0345 6060 973. Text from Stan in Hull. I used to listen to you on Radio Luxembourg. Where have those years gone? Radio Luxembourg. Where have they gone? Well, they just went. Got to pay attention, Stan. Stu from Ipswich says, Rishi likes Ice Ice Baby. Well, that's what I heard at the beginning of this programme. Somebody called in and said his favourite song is Ice Ice Baby by Vanilla Ice. Isn't that so totally him?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. Anything vanilla. He says, well, the ice caps are melting and it's no thanks to you, Rishi. Does he not know that when the floods come, it will go over his head It will go over his head first. Well, that's just a fact. Elaine in Swindon says, if Rishi truly raps to Ice Ice Baby, I bet his daughters hide in their bedrooms and pretend to be studying or sleeping the moment they recognise their dad is about to cut a rug and groove and spit it. What does that mean? I mean, I know what cut a rug is, but groove and spit it. What does that mean? What a ridiculous image, she says. This is unexpected news, has caused me to imagine this. I kind of read that wrong, but it's more or less right. Please make it stop. Do you suppose he has a crack at teensy breakdancing too? No, I would think his skinny limbs wouldn't be able to cope with break dancing. I wouldn't think so, no. I'm surprised he can stand up on those legs.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Oh, hello.
Hello. This email says, Nick, don't you remember David Cameron said he loved listening to the Smiths until Johnny Marr found out and banned him? Hagar in Old Felixstowe says, Bodger can write. Ironically, his scribblings are in the Daily Fail. I thought swishy fishies... Swishy fishy. Swishy Fish's favourite song would be I Got Messed Up by R.L. Burnside. Now, I had never heard of that, but I looked it up in the break. And here are some of the lyrics. I got messed up, ooh, I got messed up, I got messed up, ooh, I got messed up. Yeah, 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 yeah. I got messed up, ooh, I got messed up, I got messed up, ooh, I got messed up, I got messed up, ooh, I got messed up, I got messed up, ooh, I got messed up. Bob Dylan, Eat Your Heart Out.
Rock and roll!
Alice from Northwich says, Roger Moore is the only one who looked like spies actually looked. P.S. Don't ask how I know, says Alice from Northwich, if that is indeed her name. Let's have a call in Beverley. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Nick. Yeah. In view of the march today in London and everything, I'm all in favour of rejoining the EU. But I've got a really serious point to make here. My mate worked in the Commission and the EU Parliament. He's a lobbyist, and his job is talking to commissioners and Euro MPs. And if you take the Farage type lot out, it's fairly unanimous in the EU. They will not even enter serious negotiations about us rejoining or let us rejoin unless Britain adopts PR. The simple reason being that if we got 3 Labour governments back to back, did all the negotiations, great for them, great for us, the next election could be a Tory majority and they'd back it again.
Yeah.
So they won't entertain it until we go for PR.
Right. Until we become a more stable country.
More stable. And they're looking at it that apart from the Conservatives, Labour, SNP, Liberal, Greenies are all pro-Europe. So the Tories would never get an outright majority. They might be the biggest party in the election, but they'd never get an outright majority. And so all these people who, including me, who want to rejoin the EU, we should at least be putting as much effort into getting Britain to go PR.
Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. I'll give you a reason why. It's because that when a politician becomes prime minister, because they have got the one first past the post, they will get 100% of the power, regardless of how many actual votes they've received. The Tories have led us for, I think, 2/3 of the time since the Second World War, but they have, with, I think, one exception, never got over 50% of the votes. So they've had 100% of the power with less than 50% of the votes. Why would they want to change that? Similarly, when a Labour Party wins, and a Labour Prime Minister will be in a similar position, he or she will think that this is always going to be like this. I will always have 100% of the power. Why would I give some of it up? So it's never going to happen.
I agree with you. I don't agree it's never going to happen. I agree with you as to why the politicians won't want that to happen. But if the people realise, and they've applied enough pressure within each of their parties to their politicians, then at the end of the day, I mean, the Labour Party, the Labour Party itself, not the Parliamentary Labour Party, the Labour Party is in favour of PR. Liberals are in favour of PR. Scottish Nationals are in favour of PR. And if enough pressure is applied that whatever you do, if you get into power, you do this, then it can change. But it has to come from the people. People have to vote. People have to express their opinions.
Exactly.
And so I think at the end of the day it can happen. But everyone who wants to rejoin Europe, as I do, needs to get PR in place first, because the Europeans look at the Tories and go, don't trust them. They don't use in Belarus. They're a first past the post.
I know. Yeah, what weird company we keep. Yeah, quite right. All right, thanks a lot, Mike. Fingers crossed. 0345 6060 973. Jill texts, the policeman charged... This text says, if we need ID cards to vote, then I think the cards should be free. Aren't they? I bank at Metro, and the other day I lost my bank card, so I popped into the store and got another one printed out within 5 minutes. If everyone already has bank cards, why don't we add photo ID to them? Photo ID to bank cards. I think you can get a free ID card. If you haven't got ID for this phony voter ID scheme that they're putting in, which is the Republicans' cute idea to try to get rid of as many people who aren't going to vote for them as possible, then you can get a free card, as far as I'm aware. But you have to ask for it ahead of time, as in now. Do it now. Don't ask me how you do it, but, you know, the internet will know. Terry emails, I'm not an idiot or a dope. I have followed politics since the late 1970s. For a specific event that took place in 2003, I chose not to vote at general election time. Well, what event? What are you talking about, Terry? I have no idea what this show is about, and I'm supposed to be doing it. Can you believe that? Camden, hello, Claire.
Hi, Nick.
Claire.
About Brexit.
Yes.
Besides being an act of treason, if we look at it from a legal point of view, the Consumer Rights Act says that goods and services should be advertised in a
correctly
transparent way, and
they should be as advertised. Yes, goods and services should be as advertised. Correct.
And also, even though people voted for Brexit, even though it was not transparent, after that, immediately when it was declared, it started breaching its own promises. So when a breach of contract occurs, the goods or the contract becomes invalid.
Yeah, null and void.
Yeah. So
maybe we could take it back and swap it for a cardigan. Is it too late? I've kept the receipt.
So even though Brexit continues taking people's money on the basis of this contract,
right,
it's not valid. The contract is not valid anymore.
Correct. So what can we do about it? Nothing.
Would you know a lawyer who may have looked into this?
Yeah, well, we certainly need somebody to look into this. There's no doubt about that. And I think that they should have a full report on your desk first thing tomorrow morning. How does that sound? And if that's not happening, then I'll want to know the reason why.
I don't have a desk for the moment.
Oh, you haven't got a desk? Oh, well, then a desk will be provided, Claire. That is part of your terms and conditions. If you don't have a desk, then a desk will be provided for you.
But it's serious. If a lawyer would look at it from this perspective, it's not valid.
Right. Absolutely. Everybody responsible will be going to jail.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
I will start with him.
Everybody responsible for it, a seat in the Lords
House
will
of Lords,
be provided.
They'll be reserved. Exactly right. Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot, Claire. Cheers, my dear. Ta-da. 0345 6060 973. Adrian in Taunton says Ghostbusters is dross. It is dross. It's just not funny. It's extraordinary how many classic comedy films aren't funny, and Ghostbusters is absolutely one of them. This text says, fun film fact, the Ghostbusters movies are set in the same universe as the Casper movies, the most underrated cinematic universe. This one says, one of the funniest films ever, Airplane. Surely you're not serious. No, I agree, Airplane, yeah. Graham from Rochester says, you are so right. Ghostbusters is awful. The Jerk, however, is a really funny film that has remained funny since 1979. Gag after gag. It's hilarious. How Bernadette Peters keeps a straight face in the bed scene, I'll never know. Well, The Jerk is Steve Martin at his best. Because the thing with Steve Martin was, and there's so few, or at least there's so few that I've seen, of videos of his stand-up. I mean, there's one famous one where he's got the white suit and the arrow through his head, which is just hysterical. But the reason is not necessarily for the jokes that he tells, but he's just such a brilliant physical comedian. He's one of the best I've ever seen. And I really wish there was more of his stand-ups that had been filmed. There's some records that they released, but, you know, because he's a physical comedian, you've really got to see him. But The Jerk does really take all of that physicality and use it to a really excellent effect. Yeah, so I'll agree with you. I haven't seen that film in a good long while. Sid Cup. Hello, Phil.
Oh, hello.
Phil.
Hi, Nick.
Yes, Phil.
Why is unemployment in the UK 4.5%, but it's 11.7% in Spain, 11.1% in Greece, if the EU is so good?
It's Spain's unemployment rate is 11%.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it. Spain was the European country with the highest unemployment rate in June 2023, with 11.7% for the labour force out of work. The unemployment rate in Greece in second place, so 11.1%.
Right.
And in the UK, it's 4.3%. So if the European Union is that benevolent and that great, why is unemployment so high?
I don't know why the level of unemployment in Spain is so high, but what's it like in Germany?
I don't know, but I'm asking you, what is it like in Spain and Greece?
Yeah, but we don't compare ourselves to Spain and Greece. We are a richer country than they are. We compare ourselves to France.
I've asked you a question.
Yeah, and I told you I don't know the answer. I'm not very familiar with the Spanish economy. You don't expect me to be, surely. But we don't compare ourselves to Spain and Greece. That's practically third world stuff. We compare ourselves to France. You're not listening to me, are you, Phil? France and Germany is what we compare ourselves to.
Oh, of course, yeah. We shouldn't be concerned about Spain and Greece unemployment. We should be concerned about Germany.
No, I'm not saying we should be concerned about it. I said we compare ourselves. We are not like Spain or Greece. We are a richer country than that. So we should compare ourselves to countries that are similar to us. Do you not agree?
We should be saying, why is there massive unemployment in those countries?
Right. Well, Germany's unemployment. Phil, Germany's unemployment rate is 2.9%.
Yeah, but we're not concerned. I'm asking a question about those two.
Are you asking me the same question that I've already answered?
I've asked you a question.
Yes, and I have answered it. No, I can't. I do not know anything about the Spanish economy. Do you expect me to do so?
But you're saying that we are so much better, or they're so much better than us, and yet our unemployment rate is 4.3%.
No, I didn't say they were better than us. I said that it would be beneficial and was beneficial for us to be a part of the European.
It's not for Spanish people and for Greek people, obviously, because theirs is it's 3 times.
Phil, that's an asinine thing to say, if you don't mind me saying it bluntly, because you are not comparing what Spain or Greece would be like outside the European Union, are you?
I'm talking about inside the European Union, which is it's 11% and 11.1% inside the European Union.
Yeah.
And we are outside the European Union, and we're 4.3%.
Phil, if we have fallen so low that we are now comparing ourselves to Greece, then that is embarrassing in and of itself. I mean, no offence to the Greek people, but we are supposed to be a much richer and better off country than they are.
No, you're missing the point. What I'm saying is, if the EU is so benevolent in its way, its distribution, why are 11.7% of the population of Spain out of work?
Yeah, you keep asking me the same question over and over again, and I don't know anything about the Spanish economy. But a country that we should be comparing ourselves is to not Spain or Greece, it would be Germany. and Germany's unemployment rate is 2.9%, which is less than ours.
We've got 4.3% out work from outside.
Right, and we have
yeah.
Germany has 2.9%. Phil, what about that? Don't you understand?
They are inside the European Union. They've got 11% out work. It's nuts. It's nuts.
You're not actually hearing anything at all, are you? You phoned in with what you thought was a gotcha, which was a completely specious comparison between us and Greece and Spain, and no amount of argument that comes back at you is even touching your ears. You've got the deflector shield up because you thought you'd just drop that bomb in there and win an argument by running away, or just repeating the same question again and again and again, which is so total lever, I can't even describe it in words. You've learnt zero in the entire time that we've been having this discussion, which seems to have been going on for an epoch now. Nothing at all. Greece. We're doing better than Greece. Well, whoop-de-doo.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
We're running late.
This text says, I agree with you about voting for the party that is most representative of your opinions. I've voted Labour in every election since I was old enough to vote. When I was in 1978. I read that wrong, but it's not written very well. I have voted Labour in every election since I was old enough to vote. I was 1978. I have voted. That's what it says. Does that make sense?
No.
No, not just me. This tweet says, Bill Murray, Lost in Translation is the worst film I have ever seen. Dreadful. Yeah, I didn't like it much either, but it's not a comedy. What I said about Bill Murray was that he's just one of these people that's just intrinsically funny. You just look at the guy's face, and it's funny. Not really great casting to put him in a whatever Lost in Translation was supposed to be. I don't know, like a drama or sort of an existential. I've got no idea what that was. Didn't much like it myself. Gary tweets, of course Ghostbusters isn't funny. Who on earth thought it was meant to be? It's just a fun lark-about family film with silly monsters and a funky theme tune. Of course it was meant to be. Ghostbusters is in the comedy section. And Bill says the Lib Dems are not to be trusted either. They could have made PR a condition of the coalition with the Tories in 2010, but they went for the hopeless alternative vote system instead and lost. Clegg broke his promise to students and Vince Cable privatised Royal Mail. Says Bill. Let's have Wandsworth. Ian.
Hey, hello, Nick.
Ian. An ecstasy of fumbling. Are you speaking to me from a wind tunnel?
No, I'm on my bike towards Dover.
Right.
Sorry, I put the fan off.
Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Well, firstly, you know, there are funny films. I disagree with the fact that, like the Bruce Brothers was not a funny film.
Oh, not funny at all. Are you kidding me? There was no laughs in that film at all.
Oh, man. Aretha Franklin coming out with the chickens? That was funny.
No, it wasn't funny. Her singing was tremendous, but funny it wasn't. Anyway, we'll agree to disagree. Go ahead.
Okay, so I lived most of my life in Spain, right?
Oh, yeah.
And, since even before Franco, I went over there, in 1972. I came back to England in 2010. And, obviously, it was a bit of a shock to the system. But in Spain, you don't have to have a cost of living. Yes, there's more unemployment, but you have to understand this country is a new democracy. Only 30, 35 years. And they do not believe so much in, everything has to be paid for, bank transfers. So a lot of the economy is the electrician will help a family who is a plumber, who will help him. They have a community system, and you don't charge people.
Well, you're talking about the black market.
No, it's not a black market. It's a community. You want to call it a black market? No. I know you could say, it's under the radar, but it's not cash. They will do it just because they're neighbour.
But that doesn't explain an unemployment problem, though.
Well, people that are unemployed actually do it. They do these kind of little jobs, handymans and everything like that. And there is another thing in Spain. What you call unemployment is different.
We're losing you, Ian. Please speak directly into the phone. There you are.
I have to put my little finger under the microphone to hold it so it doesn't drop.
Yeah.
Sorry, my bad. So what you also have in Spain is that people work for, like, the government. They work for institutions.
Yeah.
And
well, we do that here.
Yeah, I know, but it's not a job. It's not open up to everyone.
What?
It's only open up to people that do the oposiciones, which is kind of like a tenure thing. So once they get that job, it's theirs for life.
Yeah,
so
but that's a job, though. We were talking about the unemployment rate in Spain.
Yes, but they don't count as employed. They're part of the unemployment because they take the money out of the coffers.
I'm not really getting it, Ian. I don't really understand, and I'm not really that interested. That we're comparing ourselves to Spain and Greece is just ridiculous. I mean, if we have fallen so low that's who we are comparing ourselves with in order to feel better about ourselves, then how pathetic is that? God, we used to be a contender. We could have been someone. Chris says, listening from New Zealand, I left London back in 2006 and headed over here, continuing to watch the utter incompetence of the UK government. Where will it all end? From this side of the world, the whole debacle looks and sounds like a carry-on film. If you ever get a solitary second, watch the muted news highlights on TV and listen to an old carry-on film soundtrack. Best cure for depression, says Chris. And Danny says, when I need a laugh, my go-to films are The Jerk with Steve Martin, as previously discussed, and The Birdcage with Robin Williams, who tries to get Nathan Lane to walk like a man like John Wayne. It's a while since I've seen that too. And this from Caroline says, rainbows are actually circular too. We only see half of them. Double rainbows are very lucky. Did you make a wish? Says Caroline. I've seen a circular rainbow. It was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. I was in a plane. And I think you have to be in a plane to see one. It was sunny. We were above the clouds, and the cloud cover beneath the plane was it appeared to my eye to be completely flat. There was the little bumps here and there, but otherwise flat. And the sun was above and to the other side of the plane that I was sitting. So I was looking at the shadow of the plane as it went along the top of the cloud cover, around which, making a perfect circle around the shadow of the plane, was a circular rainbow. One of the best things I've ever seen. So, yeah, I've seen it, Caroline. Been there, done that. I'm not saying it's dull. Boring. But, I've actually seen it with my own eyeballs. Own eyeballs. Own eyeballs, 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 own eyeballs,